Hamlet, as a work, needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it one anyway. It's among the most popular works written by the famous Elizabethan playwright and author William Shakespeare. It's so widely popular that it is near impossible to find someone in the West who hasn't even at least heard the name Hamlet. It's such a highly regarded piece of literature that it is still being read in schools to this day, hence this project. Its influences have almost immortalized it, and it has gone on to inspire many different rewrites, movie adaptations, art pieces, and even separate stories altogether, the most notable being The Lion King. With how many tropes and concepts it's perpetuated and introduced, it's no wonder that bits and pieces of it can be seen in many other works of art and fiction. Parallels can be drawn from Hamlet to just about anything if one looks hard enough. And I've been looking. Sometimes the parallels can come from unexpected places. I have found some parallels in a somewhat odd piece of media, one that you wouldn't expect Hamlet to be comparable to. Allow me to introduce to you
Devil May Cry.
Now I know, after that montage, you might be thinking to yourself, what is this kid on about? How can a game series like that be in any way related to Hamlet? Well, that's the cool part, it isn't. The over-the-top physics-defying, goofy, yet cool action in this series is absolutely at odds with the more slow, methodical plot of Hamlet, but I assure you, in all the differences, there are bound to be some similarities. The details of the assignment were just to pick out tropes and similar themes, and with a story such as Hamlet, that can go for just about anything. Now, this isn't me saying I picked at random and have nothing. There are quite a few things that I believe would be acceptable for the guidelines of the assignment. Starting off with the characters. As it's stated multiple times throughout the series, the true story of Devil May Cry starts off with a devil named Sparta. Sparta is one of the most powerful devils there is, and one day when the devils were trying to take over Earth, he thwarted them and banished them all back to hell. He alone saved humanity, and as a result, he couldn't go back. So he stayed on Earth and settled down with a human named Eve. Eventually, they had two sons, one named Dante and one named Virgil. It wasn't long after, though, that the devils broke out and came for Sparta, causing Sparta to inexplicably disappear to where nobody knows what happened to him to this day, and Eve's unfortunate death. This left Dante and Virgil alone from a very young age. The only things that Sparta left for them are two swords, but more on that later.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
Starting off with Dante. Dante's the main character of most of the games in the franchise, in one form or another. He changed a lot throughout the games. In Devil May Cry 1, he was more of a brooding bad boy, but he still got his quips in here and there.
Walk off, Featherface!
He seemed about the same in Devil May Cry 2, but I can't tell because I didn't play it, because it was terrible. However, in Devil May Cry 3, the prequel game, he became the more goofy, wisecracking show-off that fans of the series have come to love. And that has really stuck. This is mainly as a result of his tragic backstory. For the sake of this analysis, I'm going to use his post-DMC3 attitude. He deals with his trauma by pushing away his emotions, stating at the end of the third installment that devils never cry, an expression that, for one, almost dehumanizes himself, and second, talks about how he shouldn't feel sad or shouldn't feel emotions at all. This is one of the reasons that I would compare him to Hamlet. He deals with his pain the same way, through jokes and sarcasm, also because he's the main character. What do you want from me? Their father's disappearances were the spark that makes them who they are, and the way that they deal with the trauma that came with it are their defining traits. Some people, however, deal with trauma a little bit more differently. Some people use humor like Dante or Hamlet, but some people take a more direct approach. Some people respond like Virgil. Virgil is Dante's brother and the older of the two sons of Sparta. Him and Dante's chemistry are like oil and water, like dogs and chocolate, like a third, funnier metaphor that I'm too tired to come up with. In other words, horrible. Virgil's response to the horrible childhood event was more so on the side of Laertes, where he chose to lash out. The reason that he acted so differently, the source of his anger, was because when the demons came back and destroyed their home, Eve, the mother of the two boys, found Dante first and managed to get him to safety, but died in the process of trying to find Virgil, leaving Virgil to believe that he had just been straight up abandoned. Virgil responded by manifesting this overbearing and insatiable hunger for power in his adult years. Power and motivation are spoken about by him so much that they've basically become memes at this point. I personally believe that it can be equated to that one guy who goes through a traumatic event and hits the gym really hard. He's gaining so much power that he never has to experience loss again, and he doesn't care what it takes, what his actions will do to the world around him, as twice he's summoned towering artifacts that have cost countless lives. Virgil's lashing out is very similar to Laertes, however, Virgil isn't depicted as hot-headed as Laertes is. He seems a lot more cold and calm, of course with the capacity to lose his temper, and of course, as it is with Hamlet and Laertes, there must be a clash. Just a bit of background info, Dante and Virgil were both given two things by their parents. Sparta gave them each a sword. He gave Dante his signature rebellion, which, ironically, despite its name and scary looks, signifies unity. As in Devil May Cry 3, he was stabbed with it and unlocked his Devil Trigger form for the first time. And in Devil May Cry 5, he stabbed himself with it, which also gave him a power-up. Man, people in this franchise get stabbed a lot. As for Virgil, he received the Yamato. The Yamato is a katana with the ability to cut anything, including space and time, giving him his signature moves such as the Judgment Cut, which just looks really cool. In addition to this, the brothers also received two halves of their mother's amulet, which, when combined, acts as a key to the underworld. This segment isn't just for comparison, it's more just for background info. I should have put this in earlier, but as of now, I can't make any more major changes to the script, so let's just roll with it. Duels. You love them, I love them. Dante and Virgil have fought many times. Of course, neither of them have died, but it has happened a lot. Of course, duels to settle differences are fairly common in fiction, and they were in real life too. This whole trope is absolutely timeless. But since it was included in both Hamlet and Devil May Cry, I have to talk about it. Duels between brothers and a duel between brothers are both huge parts of their respective works. However, there are definitely differences in the two cases. In Devil May Cry, Dante and Virgil are actually related by blood, making them actual brothers, whereas in Hamlet and Laertes were just close friends who grew up together, thus making them brothers in the metaphorical sense, as in referring to a close male friendship. Hamlet and Laertes would also have been brothers-in-law had the marriage between Hamlet and Ophelia gone through. Duels are hugely important in both works, as a grand finale to a story and as a way to illustrate hate between two once very close parties. But those duels are between those who were once friendly. What about villains? We all love a good Machiavellian villain. Their almost psychopathic methods of planning and manipulation range further back than Niccolo Machiavelli himself. In Hamlet, the main villain, Claudius, is a good example. He has no regard for anyone but himself, He doesn't show sympathy for anyone unless it lines up with his own plans. He killed his own brother, tried to have his nephew killed, and really only showed concern for Queen Gertrude when she was about to drink the poison in the last scene, but that was only because that would give the poison away. In Devil May Cry, there are two prominent Machiavellian villains, Arkham and V. Arkham serves as the true main antagonist of Devil May Cry 3. He was the one who summoned the giant tower that the game took place in, called the Temen Nigru. He manipulated Dante because of his half of the amulet, and his blood because of his relation to Sparta. He also manipulated Virgil, somehow, for the exact same reason. He also manipulated his own daughter, Lady, not her original name, but her new one, all so that he could obtain Sparta's power. Of course, Dante and Virgil teamed up on him, absolutely destroying him, and then they fought amongst themselves. Arkham didn't care about anyone other than himself. He and Lady also stated multiple times that he killed his own wife to gain that power. The other of the two Machiavellian villains is V from Devil May Cry 5. He was a result of Virgil using the Yamato to separate himself into two halves, his demon half and his human half. His demon half being named Urizen and his human half being named V. Urizen began to grow a tree called the Qlipoth in the human world, which feeds off of the blood of thousands of people, bears an apple which Urizen then eats to gain more power. Dante then defeats Urizen, which allows for V to refuse and make a much stronger Virgil. The whole time, V was manipulating Nero and Dante to be able to weaken Urizen enough to be able to recombine back into Virgil when the time was right, thus being a super roundabout way for Virgil to gain more power. Technically, this was really Virgil's plan all along, but I'm going to give it to V because that's the actual being that executed the plan. Well played. So there you have it. Those are all the common tropes that I could find between Hamlet and Devil May Cry. I'm sure if I went a bit deeper, then I could find more, but I think I've already earned an A+, so I'm good. This assignment was a ton of fun, though, and it was probably my favorite assignment ever. I just wish I could do more of these in the future. There are a lot of common tropes that are used throughout fiction. A lot of them were perpetuated by a lot of Shakespeare's works, and as one of the most forefront works, Hamlet has a lot of them. And this assignment could have had it compared with anything, really, but I chose Devil May Cry. Now, near the end, you probably have noticed a drop-off in the quality and quantity of the editing and writing. That's because this is the day before that it is due, and it is currently almost midnight, so I cannot be bothered, and I think I did a good enough job already. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. That's about it. See ya.